This is Max Headroom, and what you're about to witness is one of the most sinister-sounding intros to a trailer to one of the greatest epics ever produced in the history of television.
Good luck!
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Project Archivist. We are recording, at 1:33 in the morning, and we are going through no end of audio follies. But hey, this is Rojan.
This is Lobo.
And welcome back. Okay, yeah, lots of mad love for the last episode. I was really, really surprised by the response and the outpouring of just everybody like, yeah, this is great, blah, blah, blah. And, which was funny because that was kind of a screw-around episode for us, and we weren't even really trying that hard. So...
Well, apparently people really liked what we were doing. My cell phone was blowing up, and there were people hitting the page all over the place. So.
Oh, it's great. It's absolutely, it's excellent. And I'm really, really happy about it. And another big shout out to Sater, who's been helping me get the glitches figured out on the webpage. We still haven't heard back from iTunes as of this time, as of the recording right now. We're still waiting to get back from iTunes about setting up the proxy on the iTunes server and stuff. So for now, if you guys can handle it, just keep downloading off of the site. By the time this show posts, hopefully the issue will be resolved and we'll already have the stuff up there. So, all right, where are you taking us to tonight, Lobo?
Well, I'm going to a website called damnedct.com. It's a webpage called Damned Connecticut, and it's the Black Dog of West Peak. Mm-hmm. There's a big headline on it that says The Damned Story, and it says, Animal Lovers Beware. I guess I'm just going to hit the first paragraph and then tell you a little bit about the history. Looming over the city of Meriden are the scenic hanging hills, allegedly the highest spot on the east coast that's within 25 miles of the shoreline. A range of rocky peaks created by an ancient lava flow. They have drawn countless visitors over the years to Hubbard Park thanks to their rugged beauty and spectacular views. The distinctive Castle Craig, yes, that castle thingy you see from I-691, is a century-old stoned observation tower and sits atop East Peak, over 1,000 feet above sea level. On a clear day, you can literally see from Long Island Sound to the south, all the way to the foothills of the Berkshires in Massachusetts to the north. That's the setting, Castle Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
is it actually a castle, or is it just like an observation tower?
It's an observation tower. It was a lookout. They call it Castle Craig because it has a turret on top. It's really pretty. This is where the creepy part comes from. It's not the panoramic view you see from the Castle Craig. That's the problem. It's the supernatural canine of West Peak that can cause you despair and possibly death if it comes your way. It's a black dog. It's short-haired. It's a spaniel-like animal. So it's nothing like creepy like a wolf or anything. It's what would be considered a nondescript dog.
It's a mutt.
Well, no, it's not. It is a spaniel. Now it says, if a man shall see the black dog once, it shall be for joy. If twice, it shall be for sorrow. And the third time, he shall die.
That would suck if you lost count.
Yeah, that would be my thing. Now, it's this story of the black dog is as far back as the 1800s. And as many as half a dozen people are believed to have been cursed to death by the creature, including as recent as the 1970s. Now, people have fallen off the mountain. People have jumped off the mountain. I have a friend of mine who tried to commit suicide off of it. There has been a lot of tragedy on it. And like any other place where there's tragedy, if there's some kind of myth that goes along with it, people automatically, the whole eerie music and scene. That's as much of the story as I'm going to say because there's quite a bit left. But in my senior year, I wrote a paper on the black dog, and it's also known as the shook. It comes from England. This animal has been seen throughout the moors and may have been the impetus for the story of the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Well, most of your black dog legends come from England anyways. It's a pretty much English legend to begin with.
Yep, and once again, it was dragged here to New England when all the wonderful people from the Mayflower showed up. But that's as far as I'm going to go into it. There's a lot of information that other people can read about. The website is dedicated just to Connecticut. And being a Connecticut dweller, I figured I'd throw some more love out there because you never hear anything from Connecticut. That's it. I mean, if I would be terrified. I've been up there numerous times. I saw a black dog once.
Oh, don't go back and you'll be all set then.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's the next town over. I go there every year to see the lights for Christmas.
Oh, great. Because you'd figure once you go the first time, well, I saw the black dog, so this is joy. I just don't go back. That's the easy way to get around the problem.
See, well, that's where you and I differ. You actually have a brain in your head.
You know what? You are the Steve Irwin of the paranormal world. You're going to be that guy that goes
Gets stung in the chest by a stingray and dies.
Worse. You're going to be the guy. You're going to be like, we're going into this warehouse and there's a class 5 demon here. Come on, it's gorgeous. It's a succubus. There she is. She's beautiful. And you'll be the one grabbing like the succubus tail and stuff. And isn't this fantastic? Isn't this great? And
And there he goes. Lobo was a wonderful man.
And
Not
Lobo
much
is
brains
dead.
in his head.
You'll be the one that's like, black-eyed kids, come on, let's go find him.
I've been wanting to look for him.
God, you're the only person I know that actively goes looking for black-eyed kids.
Dude, I just don't get it. I don't get it, but that's my spin.
Tonight, let's see. Well, let me ask you this: if you knew of a dead rock star that was going to haunt your house, who would you pick? Who would you personally pick?
Me?
Yeah, who would you pick if somebody were to die that you wanted to? They would like, okay, I'm going to haunt your house. Who would it be?
Jimi Hendrix, because he thought he was an alien.
You know what? I picked the exact same thing. Yeah. I thought the exact same thing for the exact same reason.
I would love to talk to Jimi Hendrix.
Well, this story comes from www.nme.com, which I believe used to stand for the New Music Express. I think they just call themselves NME now. And this is a story of a woman from Virginia who says that Jim Morrison's ghost is haunting her house and climbs into bed with her. What we have here, a woman in Arlington, North Virginia, has claimed that the ghost of the Doors singer Jim Morrison lives in her house and regularly gets into bed with her. Rhonda Barron lives in a house on 28th Street in Arlington, which Morrison also lived in as a child. She has claimed that the singer's ghost visits her regularly, telling Washington TV station WUSA9 TV, what a really weird name for a television station. I was laying in bed, and the spirit lay down on the bed beside me on his back and turned and looked at me. The spirit lay down on the bed beside me on his back and turned and looked at me. It was like a haze. You could look through it. Barron added that she believes Morrison's ghost haunted her room because he was an unhappy soul which was looking for somewhere he was happy as a child. Although Morrison died in 1971 in Paris of a reported drug overdose, there are many theories surrounding his death, and many fans believing he faked his demise and is still alive today. I was going to say that would shoot holes in the Jim Morrison is still alive theory.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know what? And these articles are great, but what's really great are the responses on the posts on the bottom down here.
They're silly.
And there's a guy in here. Someone's been watching Wayne's World 2. Wonder if the weird naked Indian shall be joining her tonight. And a little bit down further, he is a lizard king and he can do anything. So
I personally like this one about Kurt Cobain, but
oh, you're reading the comments too. Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
The next one I'm going to throw up here, this is another short piece, because the Jim Morrison one, that was just kind of for giggles. I guess this one would kind of be for giggles too, and I'm throwing it up here because over in the 13 Skulls forum, me and Miles have a running joke that anytime anything comes up with snake, for whatever reason, we always throw in the post, I am sick of these MF'en planes on this. If it's snakes in a car, snakes in a car. If it's snakes in a restaurant, I'm tired of these MF'en snakes in a restaurant. And this one here is...
Good times.
This story is titled Family Driven from Home by Hundreds of Snakes. An Idaho family, I almost said Idahoan, an Idaho, which actually would still be proper terminology, I guess.
Yes, it would.
An Idaho family was driven from their home into bankruptcy by hundreds and hundreds, quote, of snakes that slithered inside the walls as they slept and left them and their children terrified. The garter snakes were so prevalent that the ground around their home appeared to move. According to Ben and Amber Sessions, Ben Sessions killed 42 of the serpents in one day, but eventually gave up and abandoned the home they bought in 2009. It was like living in one of those horror movies, Session 31 told the Associated Press. They bought the house aware of the snake situation, but they thought it was overblown. Yet everyone in and around the small town of Ruxburg seemed to know about the snake house. I felt bad, said Dustin Chambers, a neighbor. By the time they knew someone had bought it, they were already moving in. It was too late. The family couldn't continue to live in the house and ended up filing for bankruptcy. It was just so stressful, Amber Sessions told the alternative press. Yeah, right. Told the AP. It felt like we were living in Satan's lair. That's the only way to really explain it. The house, which the Sessions bought for $180,000, was taken over by the lender. It is now on the market for $109,000. Oh man, can you imagine that? So many snakes that it looks like the ground is moving.
We talked about this earlier today. Yes, I could.
Yeah, you would want to live in the house.
Absolutely.
But you'd think when you go through the walkthrough of the house, if there's that many snakes there before you buy the house, that it would be evident that there's a problem. Even if they say the house is overblown with snakes, you'd still think you'd be able to figure out there's a problem when you walk in there.
You see, I wouldn't really see that as a problem.
I know you wouldn't, but still. Well, garter snakes don't really freak me out, so it's like I said earlier, it would just be the inconvenience of it. You go to open up the cupboard and get a bowl of cereal, and you've got snakes on the shelf, or you try to grab a glass to drink, Coke out of, and there's snakes in the Coke.
See, now my wife, Mrs. Lobo, would have been, curled up in a corner, looking for her happy place. She's terrified of snakes. I actually had to get rid of some of the snakes I owned because of that.
Killed 42 serpents in one day, but eventually gave up and abandoned the home they bought in 2009. 42 snakes in one day.
If you're gonna go after 42 of them, man, go full bore. It's all in or nothing, man.
How do you go full bore in a house where you've got snakes living in the wall and snakes everywhere?
You bomb the place.
You mean like chemical bomb?
Yeah, it's gonna force them out of the house. It may not kill them, but it's gonna force them out of the house.
That's a lot of snakes, man.
Yeah, it is.
As you let these sounds wash over you, just relax as you feel your head nod and your eyes close. Just relax.
All right, this next story comes from livescience.com, and the name of the article is Greenhouse Gas Pains Shoot the Farting Camels. And it was June 9th, 2011, and it is from the Live Science website. And
I love Live Science. It's such a cool site.
It is. There's, a lot of times it makes you scratch your head, though.
There's just neat stuff on there.
There is.
It's always something interesting on Live Science.
Absolutely. Australian officials are hoping to curb carbon emissions by killing off feral camels in the outback. But U.S. researchers say cows are the country's main carbon-emitting animals, and lowering the camel population isn't enough. Northwest Carbon, a commercial company, suggested awarding carbon credits to individuals and companies in return for killing feral camels as a part of a larger carbon-curbing legislation called the Carbon Farming Initiative, released today, June 9th, and submitted to the Australian Parliament's Department of Climate Change and Energy Efficiency.
When you say feral camels, I get an image of my head of man-eating camels.
Just running around rampantly.
Yeah, just running people down and trying to devour them.
How great would that be? That would be like poetic justice right there.
That's hysterical.
But apparently they're having the same problem in Australia that we are, quote unquote, having here in the States of, the carbon emission from methane gas we're having it here with cows, and it makes a relative sense, sort of, considering the statistics that have been made. There's the amount of cattle here outweighs the amount of humans here by a large number. And I really think the reason why they're really putting the harpoon on this one is because the camels were introduced in the 19th century by settlers. They're not an indigenous species in Australia. They run wild. The one thing that they have going for them, they don't put that big of a footprint on the property itself, the land mass, because they don't have a hoof as like a cow would, or even a pig, because they don't destroy. There's a pad. They walk on a pad, so it's a little less evasive towards the.
Under normal circumstances, I would insert a camel toe joke here. I guess we'll move on from that.
Yes, I think that would be a good place to step off.
Well, okay, in America, you can see like down south, they have the huge giant fields of nothing but just cattle, and like in Argentina, where fast food restaurants and stuff breed these cattle for their burgers and stuff. Now, in Australia, do they just have massive fields full of camels like this? Because Australia is a pretty decent sized continent.
Here you go. Here's the answer to your question. Australia has about 20 million beef cattle and probably around 1.6 million dairy cows. So 1.2 million camels is about 5% and can make a dent in the greenhouse gas emissions. So they're running wild. The beef cattle and the dairy cattle are kept on ranches. You know, I mean, granted, there's wide open spaces. The camels are just running wild. So, you know, there's also feral sheep that just wander around. But, you know, again, an introduced species. Everything that's there today, unless you're a spotted quail or a kangaroo, you're an introduced species. And as we know, anytime there's an introduced species anywhere, I don't care where it is, if there's no natural predator, they take off.
I can't believe they don't have natural predators there either with the amount, because
there's nothing there though. What's there to kill a camel?
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Nothing.
That's true.
I mean, the last real bastion of hope would have been the thylacine, and we did a wonderful job of killing them off. There's no natural predators there.
So what do they want to do? Send out hunting packs with to take out wild feral camels?
Yep, they want you to kill them, and you get carbon credits for killing them.
Carbon credits.
Pretty good. Right? Yeah. And it's not so much the flatulence that's causing the problem, it's also the burps. And they burp more than they quote-unquote fart. So that's your story.
I still get the image of feral camels just running around trying to eat people.
Don't you think for a second that if a camel didn't have a chance to kill you and your family, it wouldn't take it? That's the story. I mean, people can go to livescience.com and read up on the methane camels killing climate.
What happened to his hands?
What's that?
His hands. Why are they missing?
Well, I kind of cooked them up and ate them.
Carl!
Well, I was hungry, and, well, you know, when you crave hands, that's...
Why on earth would you do that?
I was hungry for hands. Give me a break.
Carl!
My stomach was making the rumblies that only hands would satisfy.
What is wrong with you, Carl?
Well, I kill people and I eat hands. That's two things.
Do you remember way back when the Furbies came out?
Oh, God, yes. The first batch?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
God,
they would get really weird and they would glitch and they would just say really bizarre stuff. And then if you took one Furby and you placed it in front of another one, they would talk back and forth and they would get in this really weird loop and they would start talking like little demons.
Yep.
Man, those things were bizarre.
You want to hear something funny?
Sure.
I don't know. Let me think. How old is my sister-in-law? She had to be about 16 at the time. So this is about 14 years ago. We were at Grandma's house, and it was Christmas time, and she wanted a Lala doll, the Teletubbies.
Yes.
She got Lala for Christmas, and we're all sitting around, and I was fooling around with her, and I was throwing it back and forth to her, and I punched it in the head, and I threw it back to her, right? And it was, doing la-la, and then after I threw it back to her, she just looks at me and turns it to me, and all of a sudden it goes, la la, and she dropped it. And after that, it was fine. It never did it again.
You made it mad.
She goes, "You did something to my Lala doll."
You're like, taking off Lala.
Yeah.
Oh man,
we still talk about it.
Hi there, folks. I'm Pastor Recoil, and I'm here to share with you a message about bacon. Because I like bacon. And do you know who else likes bacon? Seder over at the-bunker.net. So if you like bacon too, check out Transmissions from the Bunker at the-bunker.net.
I'm going to go on to a piece about Ivy League nude posture photos. And this was a scandal. Apparently it happened back in the 1970s. It's pretty weird. It's very weird. Well, you read the piece, so...
and Yale University is only 30 minutes from my house.
Yeah, it was the big colleges. The colleges where, like, the big shots go, like Yale, Harvard, Princeton.
Skull and Bones.
Exactly. But this is really bizarre. So I'm going to jump right into it here. Ivy League nude posture photos. And this comes from a variety of links. The one that I'm going to post, I'm going to post the full story from Boing Boing Up. The full story has a lot more in-depth and more information. I'm going to do the shortened version of it from Weird Worm for show purposes, size, and so forth. So if you like it, go on to the Project Archivist website. I'll have the link up there, as well as I'll also have the link for the last story that Lobo just covered about the farting Farel Camels of Australia. I just can't get over that. The image.
It's just, I know, man. It's just silly.
But getting back to the Ivy League nude posture photos. In the late 1970s, an employee of Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut, made a startling discovery in a rarely visited room located in the section of Payne Whitney Gymnasium. The employee discovered a large collection of thousands and thousands of nude pictures. The pictures depicted young men that were profiled from the front, side, and rear position. Upon further investigation of the pictures, something disturbing was reported. It seemed that the people in the photos had a bizarre row of sharp metal pins protruding from their spines. It was discovered that the pictures were part of a strange program that was developed in the United States during the 1940s. The program involved taking nude photos of every incoming freshman who attended certain Ivy League and Seven Sisters colleges. These colleges included Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Vassar, Mount Holyoke, thank you, and Wesley College. The official explanation is that the photos were an attempt to gauge the rate of severity of rickets, scoliosis, and lordosis, I believe it's pronounced, in the population. The project was run by William Herbert Sheldon and E.A. Houghton, who may have been using the data to support their theory on body types and social hierarchy. These explanations have been highly scrutinized. The United States government took swift action and tracked and burned all of the photographs. Many high-ranking government officials and prominent members of the American society were among the people profiled. The program was active from the 1940s to the 1970s. The Ivy League nude posture photos are an extremely touchy subject among U.S. government officials. However, people have released accounts of their experiences. The freshmen were summoned to the top floor of the gym and met by a man dressed in white garments. They were ordered to remove all of their clothes, and the metal pins were placed along their spine. The pictures were labeled the posture photos because the claims have been made that the metal pins were being used to judge the posture. The people whose pins were described as erratic were required to attend the posture classes. However, this does not explain why the college students were forced to remove all of their clothes and why the event was documented. It seems that the information could have been obtained with only the removal of the shirt. Many people have questioned the official story behind the U.S. Ivy League nude photos. The procedure was not limited to men. Some famous Americans who reportedly had pictures taken are George Bush, George Pataki, Brandon Tartikoff, Meryl Streep, Hillary Clinton, and Diane Sawyer. That is just bizarre, because you would think, like it says, you should be able to just get the information by just saying, here, take your shirt off, maybe go down to your boxer shorts, or, put something on, and then we're going to put these pins on your back, and we're going to measure the curvature of your spine or so forth. And it's just a really strange. Another thing is, why would they use Ivy League people to
the up-and-comers, man?
Yeah, I don't, but you would think you could get that information just from any health clinic or something like that, and to take freshman students and be like, all right, strip down. Now we're going to put this on your back. I get this, it sounds like
more to it.
There's definitely something weird and strange to it. And the fact that maybe the government jumped on it so quickly because there was pictures of George Bush and, Hillary Clinton and these higher up government officials. They don't want nude pictures of these people floating around. So you got to wonder about it. You got to wonder, is this some kind of genome mapping experiment or something like that? How long has this kind of stuff been going on?
Who knows, man?
I just found the whole story to be very, very strange and very peculiar.
And this one is from io9.com. It's io9 offers $2,000 bounty for authentic photos of cryptids. Now, Rojan, you sent this over to me. You gave me the heads up on it, and I also saw it shortly after you sent it to me on another one of the blogs that I read. So immediately my ears went up. So there's quite a bit of information before you get to actually like the meat of it, and it starts at the bounty. IO9 will be offering a $2,000 bounty for the best photographic or video evidence of a genuine cryptid. In August, we will invite our panel of experts, including zoologists, the team behind excellent cryptid blog Cryptomundo, cryptid expert Lauren Coleman, and a Photoshop analyst to judge which pictures are the most authentic. We'll give the bounty to the one that they judge to be the most mysterious yet authentic creature. Now, then they go on to how to enter, and then I have to read this just because, and it's a note. It says, we want pictures of living cryptids, no killing or capturing them. If you find a dead cryptid, you may use that picture, but our judges will vastly prefer living ones. So that's that. And then at the very bottom, it says, something for the fakers too. Want to give us your best fake pictures of a cryptid? Well, start your engines. In July, we'll ask for your most awesome fake images of cryptids, and readers can vote on the best ones. If yours wins, we'll give you some free books and DVDs.
And what's that translate into?
IO9 gets a crap ton of free books and DVDs.
And they're looking to dump them on somebody.
And that's it. Exactly. I'm all in, man.
What I like about this is they brought Cryptomundo in, and Cryptomundo is a really cool blog and website that covers just cryptids. Right. I think that's pretty cool that they brought them in on it. They also have on here, don't have a photo or a video, we still want to hear your stories. And they're still taking submissions from people if you've had some kind of a cryptid experience where you could send it in. They have a cryptid summer forum. Cool. Something along those lines. But again, I'll have a link to this up on the website and in the show notes. And this one comes from the Mail Online, which is the dailymail.uk, coming from the science tech section. And this is triple-barreled cannon found in Croatian fort is machine gun forerunner designed by Leonardo da Vinci. Now, for me, Leonardo da Vinci, in my mind, he's up there with Michio Kaku. When you say da Vinci, what comes to my mind is badass, because he was badass for his time. And even realistically, he still is badass, because the guy created and designed so much. Even though some of his designs wouldn't have worked, they were forerunners to designs for what we have now for things that do work, like the helicopter, things like that. And he designed these really wild, crazy guns. Like if you go to this website, we're going to have a link for it before I talk about the article. He has these cannons on here that look like giant fans with just barrels facing everywhere. For a guy that was, as you say, a true Renaissance man, but he did design some really wild weapons of destruction. I think he designed the forerunner for the tank, all kinds of crazy stuff. When an ancient 3-barreled cannon was discovered by school children, museum officials would have known that they had stumbled on a rare find. But now, 40 years after the discovery of the unique weapon, they have learned how important it is. The gun is a prototype designed by Leonardo da Vinci himself. The cannon was discovered in a Croatian fort, but only now has been confirmed it was designed more than 500 years ago by the artist and inventor. Da Vinci was famous for his weapons of war and were hugely in demand among rival factions of the northern Italian cities. He was the first to invent breech-loaded machine gun with several cannons in rotation, which meant soldiers could fire one, loading another, and cooling the third. The triple-barrel cannon, apparently one of the less successful designs, has been dumped in, I'm going to butcher this name, Klakivia border fortress near the southern town of Benkovac. Hey, if anybody out there and hears this and I butcher the name, please don't send me hate mail. I'm a dumb American and I'm doing the best I can here. A group of school children discovered it and told the museum officials in the town, but its 15th century origin remained a mystery until today. The origin of Da Vinci's design was regarded as forerunners of the modern machine gun until the only Da Vinci cannons on display in Italy had been replicas. Spokesman for Benkovac Museum said, "We have only recently confirmed the age of our cannon and that it was one of the designs by Da Vinci. As far as we know, this is the only original cannon designed by him left in the world. The Da Vinci bronze triple-barrel cannon will now be exhibited in Benkovac. Archaeologists believe it was probably brought to Croatian area of Dalmatia from Venice as Venetians ruled the area at the time and fought Turks for control." I want to shoot this thing.
Me too.
I have black powder guns myself. I love old guns like that. I know I should probably be into modern guns and stuff, but I'm really into old black powder guns, and I just want to shoot this thing. I want to, it's a cannon. It's bad. It's cool. And it was made by Da Vinci, and it just looks really cool. Again, I'll have links to this up on the show notes. Go check it out and reread the article with the proper pronunciation in your head, and get a kick out of it, because I sure do.
This next article comes from Infowars.com. It's Apple wants to turn off iPhone cameras. Again, this isn't a question of whether or not this is a good idea and good technology. It's whether or not it should really be used. Apple has been working on a plan that will allow concert halls, sporting arenas, and other venues to install infrared sensors that will detect iPhones going into camera mode and promptly disable devices' ability to snap a shot or film a video. Explicitly, the patent states that it will use new technology to capture a second image that includes an infrared signal with encoded data, and from there could shut down the phone's recording capabilities or else introduce a compulsory watermark. Other functions of the phone would not be halted upon being located by the sensor. While Apple is working on the product to combat bootlegging, concerts, and other unauthorized recordings, the patent also notes that the infrared emitter could be used to transfer data, such as in a museum. The iPhone user can be transmitted info about exhibits straight to their phone upon entering the signal's range. See, now that would be a good idea for it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be a great idea for it. And it says, and while Apple may eventually implement this technology to render recording from iPhones impossible, no other cell phone giants, including BlackBerry and Android, have disclosed details of following suit. Now, see, that would be the smart thing to do. If you're going to be able to use it as soon as you walk into a hall or into a museum or into an aquarium, it could immediately start up and say, welcome to blah, blah, blah aquarium, or welcome to blah, blah, blah museum, and then give you a walkthrough tour. That would be a good way to use it.
They have something like that, like for Disney World. When you go down to Disney World, they have something like that there where you can install an iPhone app onto your phone, and you can search for anything in Disney World on your iPhone, and it tells you where to go and how to get from where you're at, I believe.
Yeah, but see, now that's an app, though. That's an app. This would be an infrared transmission sent right to your phone without the use of an app.
So you could just walk through a museum and it would tell you like about Da Vinci's machine guns or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. The only problem I have with this is that I don't like the Apple's the Apple. I don't like Apple's idea of having to constantly have control over what you do with their products.
Yeah, they have a stranglehold.
They do have a stranglehold, and this is just something that jailbreaking can get around. But imagine that when you go to a concert and you go see somebody like Daft Punk or BT or something, and everybody there is going to be pulling out their iPhones and trying to record something, and everybody's got iPhones at this point. Well, a lot of people do. The tech savvy people have
Not
iPhones. Me. When you think about the technology to be able to do that, you've got, let's say you take a concert venue where you have 30,000 people or 10,000 people. That's a lot of iPhones for this technology to have to shoot out and be able to disable. So,
yeah, right.
I mean, and when you think about it, that technology is pretty cool and pretty crazy, but at the same time, it's like you said, we can do it, but should we? Should companies be telling people what they can and cannot do with their technology? I think that's where BlackBerry and Android are going to excel, because Android doesn't care what you do with their stuff. It's all open source to them. They do have some limiting on their technology, but not a lot. They leave it up to the public. So one person's one person's Android experience could be completely different than somebody else's Android experience with the same phone.
Android was smart in the fact that they took a nod from Ubuntu.
Yes.
They said, let's leave this open source, see what happens. And people get the rights to write, and they just write programming.
Again, it just comes down to, should Apple execute the kind of control that they're putting on people to prevent them? No, you can use your phone here. You can use your phone for that there. I'm not so sure it's a good idea. And I have an iPhone, so I'm not real keen on it.
No, especially after that whole, we can track you through your GPS on your phone.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Again, it's just one of those things where the technology is there, but what should you and what should you not do with it? 7 most outrageous military experiments. These are actual experiments that the U.S. government, military experiments that they actually conducted, and a lot of them actually led to real-life cool stuff, which we're using today. So we did garner knowledge from this stuff, but a lot of this just sounds really trippy and bizarre. So we're going to start off with number 7, nerve gas spray. Threats of chemical and biological warfare led the U.S. Department of Defense to start Project 112 from 1963 to the early 1970s. Part of the effort involved spraying different ships and hundreds of Navy sailors with nerve agents such as sarin and VX in order to test the effectiveness of decontamination procedures and safety measures at the time. The Pentagon revealed that the details of the project Shipboard Hazard and Defense (SHAD) project in 2002, and the Veterans Administration began studying the possible health effects among the sailors who participated in SHAD. This was just one of the many chemical warfare experiments conducted by the U.S. military, starting with volunteers testing involving mustard gas in World War II.
Hallucinogenic warfare, number 6. Psychoactive drugs such as marijuana, LSD, and PCP don't just have street value. Researchers once hoped the drugs could become chemical weapons that disabled enemy soldiers. U.S. Army volunteers took pot, acid, and angel dust at a facility in Edgewood, Maryland from 1955 to 1972. Although those drugs proved too mellow for weapon use, the Army did eventually develop hallucinogenic artillery rounds that could disperse powdered quinacetylene benzylate, which left many test subjects in a sleep-like condition for days. The National Academy of Sciences conducted a study in 1981 that found no ill effects from the testing, and Dr. James Ketchum published the first insider account of the research in his 2007 book, Chemical Warfare: Secrets Almost Forgotten.
Number 5, falling near the speed of sound, and this one sounds really cool. When the U.S. Air Force wanted to find out how well pilots could survive high-altitude jumps, they turned to Captain Joseph Kittner, Jr. The test pilot made several jumps as the head of Project Excelsior during the 1950s. Each time involved riding high-altitude Excelsior balloons at up to tens of thousands of feet before jumping, free-falling, and parachuting to the desert floor of New Mexico. Kittner's third record-breaking flight on August 16, 1960, took him almost 20 miles. He then leaped and free-fell at speeds of up to 614 miles per hour. Not far from the speed of sound, 761 miles per hour, and endured temperatures as low as minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit.
Pacifist guinea pigs, number 4. Not a fun time. Most soldiers don't sign up to fight deadly viruses and bacteria, but that's what more than 2,300 young Seventh-day Adventists did when drafted by the U.S. Army. As conscientious objectors during the Cold War who interpreted the Bible's commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," very literally, many volunteered instead to serve as guinea pigs for testing vaccines against biological weapons. Volunteers recalled being miserable for several days with fever, chills, and bone-deep aches from disease such as Q fever. None died during the secretive Operation Whitecoat, which took place in Fort Detrick, Maryland, from 1954 to 1973.
Number 3, Rocket Rider, something that sounds cool but in retrospect probably isn't. Before man could launch into orbit and to the moon, he rode rocket sleds on the ground first. NASA scientists developed decompression sleds that could race at speeds of more than 400 miles per hour before screeching to an abrupt halt, and early testing often had fatal results for chimpanzee subjects that suffered brain damage. Starting in 1954, Colonel John Stapp of the U.S. Air Force endured grueling tests that subjected his body to forces 35 times that of gravity, including one record-setting run of 632 miles per hour. As a flight surgeon, he volunteered and took the risk of 29 sled runs, during which he suffered concussions, cracked ribs, twice fractured wrist, lost dental fillings, and blood burst vessels in his eyes.
Get your plutonium shot, number 2. Not the kind of shot I want. As the United States raced to build its first atomic bombs near the end of World War II, scientists wanted to know more about the hazards of plutonium. Testing began on April 10, 1945, with the injection of plutonium into the victim of a car accident in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, to see how quickly the human body rid itself of the radioactive substance. That was just the first of over 400 human radiation experiments. Common studies included seeing the biological effects of radiation with various doses and testing experimental treatments for cancer. Records of this research became public in 1995 after the U.S. Department of Energy published them.
Number 1, seeing infrared. The U.S. Navy wanted to boost sailors' night vision so they could spot infrared signal lights during World War II. However, infrared wavelengths are normally beyond the sensitivity of human eyes. Scientists knew vitamin A contained part of a specialized light-sensitive molecule in the eyes of receptors, and wondered if an alternative form of vitamin A could promote different light sensitivity in the eye. They fed volunteers supplements made from the livers of walleye pikes, and the volunteers' vision began changing over several months to extend into the infrared region. Such early successes went down the drain after other researchers developed an electronic snooperscope to see infrared, and the human eye study was abandoned. Other nations also played with vitamin A during World War II. Japan fed its pilots a prescription of boosted vitamin A absorption and saw that their night vision improved by 100% in some cases. So that's all of them. That's pretty much everything. What they don't have on here, though, which I find odd, is the gay bomb that the United States was experimenting with, which was the U.S. military investigated building a gay bomb, which would make enemy soldiers sexually irresistible to each other, government papers say. That was back during the Iraqi War. That was around 1994, and it never actually got developed. So
they've done some strange things.
Okay, here's a neat little piece that I found, and since TJ just ran recently the story I did on Anomalous about the Flat Earth Society, it's kind of weird and synchronous that this would pop up. And this is the story of a man that realizes he owns the last immensely stupid square Earth map in existence. And of course, I'm pulling this from IO9, who is in turn pulling it from the history blog via Nerdcore. I'll put one of these two links up. I'm not sure which one I'll put up. I'll probably put the more in-depth version of it up. Here's another reason why you shouldn't throw anything away ever. Since the mid-1970s, former North Dakota State Senator Don Homuth has been in the possession of the only known complete copy of a singularly strange square Earth map from the 1800s. This map, which takes its cue from biblical passages, claims that the Earth resembles a crushed pizza box and that the corners of the planet are guided by angels the size of continents. As an adult, Homuth received this map from his 8th grade teacher. Decades later, he realized this map could be the last unblemished map out there and is now donating it to the Library of Congress. Printed in 1893, the nearly 120-year-old map of the square and stationary Earth was created by Orlando Ferguson in Hot Springs, South Dakota. Ferguson's map supports a theory that the Earth is flat. Robert Morris, Senior Technical Information Specialist in the Geography and Map Division at the Library of Congress, said that they researched through 75 to 100 related maps before confirming that they didn't have a similar map in its collections. Probably very few copies were printed, and even fewer survived, he said. The only other known remaining map is the Pioneer Museum of Hot Springs, Ferguson's home. But the map in the museum is missing a bottom portion, making Homuth the only identified and fully intact map left. For years and years, I had it folded away, he said. It was a shock to hear it may be the only map of its kind in the world. Now we know why the moon landing was faked. Those darn giant angels wouldn't let NASA leave the square. Also, what's the Earth made of past Antarctica? Ice? Dirt? Heavenly shortbread? I do relish the notion that if you tripped in Sweden, you could end up in, what's that?
Namibia.
Namibia. Rural Namibia. So, yeah, I know the Flat Earth Society is still around. They're not what they used to be. And to be honest,
yeah,
you know,
they're not what they used to be because there's a certain breed of stupid that goes along with the thought.
But the map does look really cool.
It does. It's awesome.
It's like a water bowl. You know,
doesn't it? Yeah.
It's got 4 angels on each corner holding up the map, and it shows the planet Earth is flat and kind of bowl-shaped with ice rimmed around the outside.
Now, I imagine that thing in the center is the sun.
Yeah, that's
arcing its light outward.
That's the way I believe they described it.
That's insane.
The modern Flat Earth Society believes that the Earth is flat and is just accelerating upward at a constant speed, and that the gravity isn't real, and these are the effects that we would similarly feel when we're inside of an elevator. And they're pretty hardcore about it. They really believe it. So.
Yeah.
I just thought this was funny and had to bring it up because I saw it. So. This next tasty piece of information comes to us from Los Angeles, and it's courtesy of Reuters. And it is, agent sees 159 pounds of iguana meat. Customs agents have seized 159 pounds of iguana meat at the Mexican border, hidden in the coolers of fish, a U.S. Customs and Border Protection spokeswoman said on Thursday. The coolers full of iguana meat, worth an estimate of $4,500, were found in a vehicle being driven across the border by a 37-year-old man. Customs and Border Protection spokeswoman Jackie Wasulik said. Wasulik said she couldn't speculate on the origins of the iguana meat or why the man, a U.S. citizen who was not identified by authorities, would be bringing it into the country. There could be a number of reasons. One of the main ones that comes to mind is that there are parts of the world where people do eat iguana meat as a delicacy. There are parts of the world where people will eat anything as a delicacy. Customs officers contacted U.S. Fish and Wildlife Enforcement agents who took possession of the iguana meat and charged the suspect with violation of Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species. I want to eat this. I want to try it.
Finger licking good.
I want to slather it down with some open pit barbecue sauce and have at it and have me an iguana burger.
That's it, man.
Iguana on a stick. I know they eat guinea pigs down in Chile.
Yeah, it's called cuy.
Yeah, they're huge too. They're big. They're like the size of football guinea pigs. They're giant.
Oh yeah,
but,
tasty.
I don't know. I want to try this. I've had alligator before, and that tasted like really sweet pork. I've had muskrat, which tasted like muskrat.
Musky.
I'm a big sushi fan, so.
Ugh. Oh man.
Oh, I love sushi.
Where I come from, that's called bait.
You wouldn't eat the iguana meat?
I would eat the iguana meat, absolutely, but I don't like
eat
raw
iguana,
fish.
But you won't eat sushi.
Nah, dude. Fish are like my friends. I had fish tanks my whole life.
Fish are friends, not food.
Exactly.
Iguanas are food. Why would you, okay, I guess, I don't know where you'd go to eat this in America anyways. Would this be like in the movies where there's some underground, backroom, hidden delicacy place?
See, I don't know. I know it's eaten in, island regions that have iguana. So, and I know they eat it in Mexico. So, Mexico, I suppose.
They're bringing it out of Mexico.
So. I don't understand how it could be labeled as an endangered species, though.
Iguanas
Last I checked, iguana wasn't endangered.
I don't know. You can get them in a pet shop. That's another thing. Why would you want to smuggle them into the country? You can just go down and buy them at a pet shop, unless they're like really big iguanas or something like that.
Free range, baby.
Free range feral iguanas.
They're tastier.
All right, well, I guess we've reached the end of the show. I think we covered a fairly liberal ground worth of topics, from Farel Camels to Barbecued Iguanas and Jim Morrison and who knows how many other things that we've managed to toss into here.
We had a slew of information this time.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep it going that way. Hopefully we don't lose people with the amount of stuff that we're slinging all over, but that's just kind of how we're going to do it here. We're going to give you a taste of as much as everything we can. I guess it's going to be like going to a buffet place or something. But with
China buffet?
Yeah, with iguana and camels. So one of the things I want to talk about before we did sign off, though, is the Eerie Radio has announced on Facebook that they're going to be bringing their show to an end here. And I wanted to take a minute to thank them for the years of great shows that they've put on, everybody who's ever been a part of the Eerie family. I don't know if they're going to hear this or not. Maybe they will. But thanks a lot for doing what you guys have done over the years. And I really appreciate it. And you're one of the reasons that I'm here doing this now. And you're definitely one of the better podcasts, if not one of the best. I would say the best podcast out there. You guys had great quality, great guests. You always had entertaining shows. And it's a bummer that you're going. I understand why you're going. And I think a few of you guys are moving on and doing other things and stuff. So I think that's great. I'm hoping to hear more from different parts of you guys. Thanks a lot for the years of great shows and stuff. And if anybody out there is listening to this and they haven't heard Eerie Radio, I think they're going to be keeping their shows up for a while. And they're on iTunes, so go on iTunes and do a search for Eerie Radio and download their shows. How many shows do you think they had over the years? Did they ever crack 200?
Dude, a ton. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
I don't even know how many. They interviewed like everybody too.
Literally. They had people. I mean, people that some of the big name can't get. I mean, even they had interviewed Benjamin Grundy.
Yeah, them
unusual.
and Ozone Nightmare are the only people that ever managed to get Ben Grundy on the air. So.
Yeah,
Ben Grundy, another huge influence on me and what I do. So I blatantly admit that I steal from his format a lot, if not now. And I don't think there's any shame in that. Guy. I mean, it was when I started listening to podcasts. It was Eerie Radio, Mysterious Universe, and then the 13 Skulls came along. And then from there, I kind of found everybody else. But it was always the core. It was always Eerie Radio, Mysterious Universe, and the 13 Skulls were always the three core shows. And those are the only ones that you'd go listen to those three first, and then you'd go listen to everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much how it went with me too. Yeah,
that's. I think that's what it is with everybody. Everybody that's part of the whole podcasting family or whatever paranormal family out there. Podcast.
Yeah, literally.
Guys, I wish you well. I hope to hear from you again. I hope to hear something paranormal from you. I'm looking at you, Rob. If you hear this,
Rob Father.
I would hate to see everything that you guys have done. If there's people out there that want to continue in your group doing what they do. God bless you. Go for it. Because you definitely you've got people that will follow you along. So
absolutely.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate everything you guys have done over the years.
And I'm looking through cyberspace now towards the end of July, beginning of August, because this cat right here is going to be in Indiana.
I think
hooking up with hopefully a bunch of people. I hope you are, man. We need to get a photo op going on.
Yeah, I think
people are beginning to think we're like the Chupacabra and Sasquatch here. We don't exist.
That's because you live in Connecticut and I live just outside of Detroit. Getting together for photo ops isn't exactly easy.
No, not really.
But moving on, all of the music from this show will be available for download on our webpage at www.projectarchivist.com. It comes courtesy of the IOTA promo net, except for the few things that I've managed to toss together and throw in there. And I also need to send a shout out to a couple of people. I need to send a shout out to a guy. I believe he goes under the name of Breo, B-R-E-O, and he throws some stuff up on the looperman.com website, which is a huge resource for people who do dubstep and trance and house and all that. He put a song up there, and I liked it a lot, so I wrote him and saying, hey, I'm getting a podcast together, and I like your song, and I'd like to throw it in my show. And he said, yeah, that'd be great. Just give me a shout-out. And I'm going to put a link up on our webpage if you want to go look it up and download the guy's song. I'm going to try to throw the song up on our site. I don't know for sure if I can do it or not, but I'm definitely going to throw a link up to where he can be found on Looperman. So, Brio, if you're out there, I appreciate it. Thanks for letting us use the song. We'll toss it in the show from time to time. And I would gladly use any more of your material if you want to throw it our way. Also, I need to give a shout out to Bobby Parker for giving us the snake story. He caught wind on Facebook that we forgot to mention it to him when we were recording it. So here's your shout out. But I think that's it.
I got one shout out.
Go ahead.
We are set up on iTunes, and we kind of thrive on the fact that hopefully people will go and, give us a good review or just give us a review. I mean, tell us honestly, what you think of the show. We appreciate a good review. We love good reviews, and I have to give a shout out to my boy Ed Hayes. Apparently, he was the first cat to put a review up on iTunes.
Him, huh? That was him.
He texted me on his phone. He says, "Go and look at iTunes. I put up a review." So I'm like, "All right, man."
Yeah, we got a couple of more up there too today. I noticed.
That's awesome.
That's the single thing that's going to help the show grow and get out there and get more people listening to it. And we're going to get better as we go along. This was literally the first time we sat down to record a full episode. So
yeah, right.
Once we get a little bit more comfortable with what we're doing, we're going to evolve a lot more as we go. We also have an email, which is projectarchivist@gmail.com. And we also have a call-in number, which is 734-681-0459. Leave us a voicemail. Heavy breathing, screaming, yelling, whatever.
Heavy breathing.
We'll listen to it. We'll hear it.
Nice.
And I think that's it. So this is Rojan. Peace out from the D.
This is Lobo to a better Connecticut. I mean, a better...
No, you're right. A better Connecticut's fine.
A better Connecticut. Oh, Jesus.
Better Connecticut is just fine. We'll leave it at that.
Better tomorrow.
A better tomorrow in Connecticut? We'll go with that?
Sure, that works.
We should probably note that we're recording at 2 a.m. We've been recording at this crazy schedule all week long. But hey, it works. So.
Absolutely.
Peace out, people. Take care. Thanks for listening.
Peace.
The U.S. Navy wanted to boost sailors' night vision so they could spot infrared signal lights during the World War II.
During the World War II? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No, absolutely. Well, it's the stupid waves. They come out after 1 o'clock.
I don't know. We recorded after 1 and we're fine.
Oh,
okay. Man. Starting over. Number 1, seeing infrared. This one's really cool. The U.S. Navy wanted to boost sailors' night vision so they could spot infrared signal lights during World War II. However, infrared wavelengths were normal.
When you turn Chinese, what's up?
Reggie?
My God. Oh, my God. You're a specialized right-sensitive molecule.
Joe, you're not helping at all.
I'm sorry.
Specialized right waves. How am I supposed to read that now?
You wish
and not
Stevie wanted to boost a sailor's night vision so they could find infrared right signals right during World War II. Oh my god.
That right there is probably going to be the Easter egg. Specialized right waves during World War II.